I call to order the regular Planning Commission meeting of Wednesday, May 22nd. Could I have a roll call, please?
Chair Riley.
Here.
Vice Chair Sofocanic, absent. Commissioner Andrade.
Here.
Commissioner Quilty.
Here.
Commissioner DeBolt, absent. Commissioner Gross.
Here.
And Commissioner Lowe, absent.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
That takes us to oral communications. If there's anybody here tonight that would like to come up and speak on an item that is not on the agenda, now would be the time to do so. Please come forward. State your name. Do we have a sign-in sheet there?
Yes.
Make sure to sign in and share with us.
Hi, my name is Hester Han. I'm a resident in LaSalle, and my concern is regarding the R2 parking requirement. I was curious the reasoning behind it. It's my understanding that any new building that has more than 3 bedrooms need to have like 4 parking spaces. Is that correct?
I don't have that in front of me, and I mean, this really is a period for you to make comments. It's not like an open discussion. Is that correct? So if you...
Oh, okay.
And then I could always direct you to staffs. If you went in and saw staff during non-meeting time, they'd be able to tell you exactly, what the parking stipulations are.
Okay, I see. Because it's gonna be a problem. We plan on building a 3 or 4 bedroom house, and that requirement, first of all, I'm not sure what the reasoning is behind it. If it's because there are a lot of cars on the street, by making that requirement, I'm gonna have to allot 8 parking spots, but most of the families, they only have 2 cars, so there will only be 4 cars in my lot with the 2 units, and the rest of the 4 spaces will be wasted. I mean, people that are parking on the street right now, they're not gonna come in and use my parking, right? So I'd like to ask you to consider the new parking requirement.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
And again, I would encourage you to go in and have a conversation with staff, and they could probably address some of the questions and stuff you have. Thank you.
My name is Alex Chen. I was actually here on another meeting before last year discussing the same problem, same issue. I was told that there'll be some type of resolution that we could come down to at the end, but it wasn't a proper time to discuss it back then, or there wasn't nothing else to be done back then, because it was something that you guys, the City Hall was considering on. And again, this is regarding the parking requirements. And Tom here knows what I'm talking, probably knows better than you guys about what I'm talking about. But I'm just gonna tell you guys what I find it's weird. It's that last time I was here with maybe 4 or 5 other families who had the same problem, had the same issues, and they asked for variances for it. Now, the reason they asked for variances and they got it, I don't know if they got it or not, but I feel like these requirements doesn't really make sense. For example, City of Seal Beach is 2 spaces per 2 unit, 2 spaces per dwelling for 2 unit. Cypress is basically the same thing. Long Beach, Los Angeles is exactly the same thing. Why are we all different? Now, I don't know. Now, the area of concern for me, myself, it's west of the hospital. So we're issued parking stickers, so we could park on the street if we wanted to, for whatever reason. Now, I see that there's plenty of parking on the street too, so I don't understand why the requirement to build all these parking spaces there. Now, I live in R3 area. And I'm guessing that this requirement was placed in place because of the R3 area. The apartment area, I live on Green. The apartment area, yes, there's tons of cars there, and it's very crowded. I, myself, and my wife, we have a 2-car garage, right, and the driveway space in front of it. Plenty of parking for ourselves. Other people, it's another issue, not my problem, really. But what I see is that every morning there's nurses parking there. Now, they come in scrubs, so I can kind of tell, which is not a big deal to me because I don't park there anyways. But if that's the concern we're trying to address with changing this R2 zoning to 8 parking spaces for 2 units, it's kind of crazy. That's my opinion. Okay? I'd like to address that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I didn't see where you guys had your minutes. My first time doing this, so if you guys were going to address this, I apologize. My name's Samantha, wrote my list down. And if I'm completely ill-prepared, I also apologize for that. I was wanting to start a fitness center in a specific zone, but it's not clear. Okay, so okay. I haven't spoken to anybody.
Really?
Yeah. No, oh. By Samantha? 'Cause okay, so, darn it, I got thrown off. All right, so if I put this up. So in the areas we were looking, there's a whole bunch of other gyms. We just kind of want to know if it's going to get zoned for the purposes of being gym property. Do I speak to you later privately, or?
I think you'd go in and see city staff during their normal operating hours, and they'll be able to tell you. And I encourage you to do your due diligence and make sure that.
I thought this was part of it, or the first part.
Yeah, this is a meeting, and this is like the public comment period, so it's not intended to be an exchange. Really, it's for you to,
Okay, so just
talk
to
about things
say
that
it
are
out
concerned to you. Yeah, because if
Okay.
we're going to have more discussion on certain items, we have to agendize them and notify the public and things like that.
And where is that? Because I looked online, I couldn't find.
The office?
No, the minutes of what you guys are going to discuss that night.
Oh, it's
The
online.
agenda?
Really?
Our agendas are all posted on the city
Because
website.
I
under planning
opened it
commission.
and it was like just blank. It's like just tonight at 7. Okay, I'm sorry. And who are you? You're Tom. Thank you. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, with that, I'll go ahead and close oral communications, and we'll move on to approval of minutes.
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I abstain. I was not here.
Mr. Chairman, I think with the fact you only have 3 here, I think you have to continue this item to the next meeting.
Okay, so with that, we will continue this item to the next meeting. Do I need, that's just, we don't need to do anything else with that, right? Just continue it? Okay. And then we have a discussion item, discussion of new business assistance. Do I have staff report?
Mr. Chairman, we're prepared as staff to talk about this tonight. However, I did want to make note, I did speak with Commissioner DeBolt on Monday. If you recall, he was the one that I think initiated the conversation last month. He unfortunately had to leave, well, fortunate for him, unfortunate for us. He is in Phoenix celebrating his grandson's graduation this week. But he did ask if consideration could be given to possibly continuing this to the June meeting. We're certainly prepared to discuss it tonight if you'd like. However, he did ask for me to at least mention that to you this evening. And however you'd like to proceed, we're ready to go with that, however.
Okay, in my opinion, I don't feel that there's any urgency to this item, and I don't have an issue continuing it, so does anyone else have any?
No problem.
Okay.
Fine by me.
So, yeah, let's go ahead and continue it to the next meeting.
Can we do that by motion?
Yeah, this one needs to be by motion.
I'll make a motion to continue it.
I'll second.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None? Motion carries. Takes us to consent calendar. We have no items. Staff report, none. And then item 9A, public hearing, site plan review, hospital central plant at 3832 Catalina Street.
This,
Staff report.
thank you, Chair. This is site plan review 1803, and it's, once again, they have asked us to push it to the next month. So that they'll have time to submit new plans. He thinks he will get new plans to me tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be able to present it to you the next month. So he would like to ask if you will continue this to the next meeting.
Okay.
Can they vote on continuance?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
So the
Yeah.
public hearing remains open from the last meeting, and I'd ask for a vote to continue it to the next meeting without closing the public hearing.
Right, and in consideration of the fact that the public hearing is open, would anyone like to speak on this item? I just have to ask, right? No, it's.
That's okay.
Okay, so I don't think we have anyone here to speak on this item. So then,
Okay, I'll make a motion to continue it to the next meeting.
I'll second it.
okay, I have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? None? Motion carries. Item continued. Item 10, items from the Development Services Director, SB2 Planning Grants Program.
Yes, to Mr. Chair, Commission members. We have been made aware of a grant opportunity, wanted to bring it to your attention this evening. There's what's called the SB2 grant funds that are available, and we provided some information for you in your packet, and hope you've had a chance to take a look at it. But there's a number of activities that the state has identified, and some additional technical assistance opportunities provided through this grant funding. And we have looked it over. Some of the items that are eligible such are general plan updates, zoning code updates, which we've done both of those, or a process of finishing up the zoning code update. So there isn't any need for that. But there are a few other matters listed here. And one that came to mind on our part, which has relevance to the recent general plan update and our current zoning code update, is the possibility of looking at a specific plan for our what's been identified as our town center area. And the thought was that through a specific plan, being able to have not one that's generated by a developer, but by the city, to be able to represent what could occur within that area, we thought might be prudent to at least make application for and see if we are successful in being able to secure the funds to do that. And again, that specific plan would cover the town center area. And you can see on the map behind me here, the general town center location there at Los Alamitos and Catella. It doesn't have to be limited just to that defined area in the represented in
The purple.
the purple, thank you. It could be surrounding that as well, but in general, the general plan update process identified that area in purple really has the potential to be redeveloped with maybe a little bit of a higher intensity of retail and residential use, a mixed-use type environment. And we think it might be worthwhile to pursue, again, a specific plan that would help further define that with development standards, some illustrations of concepts of design that may be what could occur there. And if we can secure, I won't say free money, but secure state funds to be able to do that, we thought this would be a good time to pursue that. So we were hoping to gain some feedback from you regarding that, and if there's support for it, we'll proceed with making application.
All right, questions, comments from anybody?
Doing the state, the SB2 funds would not cause us to do anything different in our city, change anything or expectations by the state?
From what we've read, no, it will not. Now, one of the items in here is the idea is to increase affordable housing stock. I think that's really apparent in the information they've given to us. And to be honest, we felt that this is probably one area in our community that might make sense if we were to have, because we have an obligation and responsibility to accommodate a certain number of units. To me, this seems to be the area that may make sense with new construction. And we could obviously explore that within the specific plan as to how that would happen. For example, from my perspective, and certainly that's just my perspective, the intermixing of those units is, to me, I think a better approach than establishing one or two projects, if you will, specific for affordable, but those are things that can be addressed within the specific plan as that's developed and put into place. But that is one key item that we've seen, is that they would want to see that how we're going to be accommodating affordable housing stock within whatever we're doing. So we would have to address that.
See, my concern is we've done SB2 some time back with Director Mendoza when he was here. We went through a lot of this, and we did everything we can to try to meet the state's requirements for SB2. I wouldn't want to open the door that came in and changed any of these things that we've already done. We have a lot of housing in here that we've done for affordable housing. The state can be very demanding and tricky on how they do that, right down to saying, well, you can do a lot of things without caring about the density, for instance. And what they're doing in other cities is kind of disturbing. But if it doesn't affect us as far as our affordable housing, how we've already have it set up, I'd love to see us do more work to help the business owners, to help them get some of these unoccupied buildings with somebody in there, at least bringing them in revenue, and us too, through tax dollars. But yeah, I'm for doing it as long as it does not impact us in any other way.
We can certainly confirm that, but again, everything we've read so far doesn't obligate the city to any greater than what we're currently obligated to do. It's an opportunity, though, for us to, again, be able to identify how we're going to provide opportunity for affordable housing. So that would be one caveat to this, is we'd have to incorporate that into the specific plan.
So I want to be clear in that we already have an obligation, correct?
Yes.
This would just give us a potential way to figure out how to accommodate that.
That's correct. We currently have a housing element, and that housing element identifies scenarios as to where those units could be constructed. It's basically an inventory of underutilized or vacant properties and the potential for accommodating those. We'll be going through an update here in 2020, because there'll be another allocation that's currently underway. The Regional Housing Needs Assessment process is currently underway, and I believe about towards the fall of this year, towards the end of the year, we'll actually get that allocation, and then we'll have a responsibility to update our housing element to address that. Independent of that is this matter here that we're bringing forward to you, which is being able to identify how we could accommodate not only affordable housing, but also how that area could develop out. It's basically taking our general plan and really putting something to life that, rather than just colors on a map, to show how that could evolve and develop in the future, which would include a certain number of housing units, and of those housing units, a certain number of those would be identified as potential for affordable units. So it really is just taking our obligation and responsibility and showing how that would be incorporated into this area of the community. Because really, at the end of the day, the most units that we'll likely see going forward would be within this redevelopment of this town center area, because the majority, as we all know, the majority of our community is built out, and what we'll likely see going forward are small pockets of potential redevelopment of duplex, triplex, fourplex, fiveplex units, and it's likely that most of those will not be affordable. So if there wasn't one area in the community that has a higher potential for some affordable units to be incorporated into it, it'd probably be within our town center area. I know it's a long response, but that hopefully gives you a little bit of better understanding of this.
How does that work with the state? Like, if we have an obligation, but how does the city fulfill that?
Exactly, that's the difficulty is how we do that.
So if we create a specific plan and we have some guidelines in there, then anyone that wanted to come and develop within that specific plan area would need to satisfy those requirements.
Yeah, for example, I'm not saying that this is what we would do, but just trying to give you a hypothetical. You could have an inclusionary zoning provision or it's not really zoning, but an inclusionary provision within the specific plan, to where if somebody came in, they showed a mixed-use project, and they were going to add 50 units of residential units within that mixed-use project, there could be a requirement that a percentage of those units, let's say it's 20% of those units, need to be affordable. So then of those 50 units, they'd have to obligate 10 of those units to be identified for affordable going forward.
Mm.
If that gives you an idea of one example, there's others, but that's one that is used in various communities currently today. I'm not saying that that's something that we should or shouldn't do. It's just an example for you to consider.
Sure. So it's referred to as an obligation. What happens if we don't meet that obligation?
Historically, to date, there hasn't been too much repercussion from that. It's really unclear going forward as to how that will work. As you're probably aware, Huntington Beach is involved in a litigation matter with the state over affordable housing units and the development of those units in their community. There are other communities. I think the ERMAR identified 47 communities, if I remember right from the article I read, that were viewed to be out of compliance, and the state is currently addressing that matter with those. The only one I know of that has where a lawsuit's involved is Huntington Beach, but there is that potential that if we show that we're not adhering to those requirements, that they could take legal action or withhold funds. But
Right.
this,
Like with Huntington Beach, I mean, I could see, because how many apartments are they building on Edinger and Beach Boulevard? I mean, they're putting in thousands of units. I mean, here, we have nowhere to build.
right.
Like, you know, everything's built, I mean, once the new apartments and the townhouses get done, I mean, there's so little, so I don't know how, in reality, we could ever really comply.
And that's where our allocation, our RENA, what they call RENA allocation, is so low. So that's the challenge we have is we have the preliminary estimates that Tom and I have seen right now would show us as, I think, the second lowest allocation in all of the county, but we're the second smallest city
Right.
in all of Orange County as well. So, that's something that we're going to have to face. We have to at least show mathematically how it works, and we have to show that there are some viable options. And again, this isn't on our part, wasn't the premises for bringing this forward to you. It's just one of the components that we would have to address. But I actually got excited about the opportunity to be able to create some development standards and be able to illustrate some ideas and concepts as to what that town center could look like in a build-out scenario. Whereas, again, right now, all we have is a paragraph description in our general plan and a color on a map. And my thought was if we could utilize this potential resource, address the affordable housing part of it, but more importantly, be able to focus on what that town center could be someday, to me seemed like a viable opportunity for us.
Okay. Yeah, sounds interesting to me. What do we need to do from here?
It was really just an informational item and was looking for general feedback. So no vote is needed, but be happy to, if you have any interest or concerns beyond tonight's meeting, if you want to, share that with me or with Tom, please let us know. And then we'll start working on filing an application, and we'll obviously, notify City Council of our the interest in this as well.
Yeah, City Council would have to approve a resolution saying that we are approved to apply for it in order to apply for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So good information. Anything else on this? Anybody?
Nothing for me.
I did have one additional item, if I could, Mr. Chair. I wanted to mention to you, and I forgot to hand these out to you, but an item that we're trying to get the word out to everybody is the Orange County Sanitation District has notified us of a trunk sewer line project that you may have heard of. And if you haven't, we certainly want to make sure you're fully aware of that. This project will involve a trunk line, or lines, I should say, that run down a portion of Catella. I believe it's west of Bloomfield, and then we'll run from Catella south on Los Alamitos Boulevard to our southern city limits. There'll be a small component of that comes as far as Oak Street on Catella as well. And they are preparing for that work. The work will consist of replacement of existing manholes. There are a number of those within that area. And then they'll be lining the existing pipe. They won't be replacing the pipe, but lining it. The pipe is old and it's starting to corrode, and there is a liner that they can actually establish inside the pipe to give it basically an entirely new life. I think like a 40 or 50 year life expectancy out of that, without having to tear up the streets to do that. But they do have to tear up portions of our streets to replace those manholes. And it's a fairly large hole that they have to dig. It's about a 20 by 20 hole to replace those manholes. They are currently in the process of seeking community feedback. There's a survey that is available. I have some here to hand out to you this
I
evening.
got it today at home.
Oh, you did? Perfect. Glad to hear that because
We got it the other day.
you did.
I
Great.
got 3.
It's already been.
You
sent
got
back.
3. Okay. Well, they said they mailed or distributed recently to over 14,000 people or 14,000 addresses. So that obviously is not just Los Alamitos. They're going beyond Los Alamitos residents. They're also reaching out to the business community as well. They're looking for your feedback or the community's feedback with regards to their construction strategies, if you will. And so I would just wanted to encourage you, if you could, to fill those out, as well as encourage
It's already done.
those that you are interacting with in the community to please do the same. So the feedback is critically important for the district and their efforts. Regardless of how this goes, it will be disruptive to our community. The hope is, in our conversation with the district, is to try and minimize that disruption. From a staff perspective, we obviously wanted to hear the community feedback, but our initial response to them was be quick, get in and out of our community as quickly as you can, and be as least disruptive to our community. It's really hard to do both. So that's going to be the real challenge. But again, the feedback is critical, and I'm glad that some of you received it. And if you need more, we have them. And thank you. Appreciate the
Are they going to do this during school break when it really is the best time to do this?
It is longer than a school break period. This is
I'm talking like summer break. That
they will
one.
be working summer and beyond. This is a project that could take anywhere from, well, their schedule is really dependent upon how quickly they're able to work, but it could take as long as 2 years to complete.
Oh, my God.
So they really are not going to be limited to just during school breaks to do that. And
If they could work, do whatever they have to until, let me think, where does it, it's before Bloomfield. The traffic is worse, normally right up to Los Al Boulevard and just a little bit beyond that in the morning for the school.
we anticipate that Catella will probably be I don't want to say the easiest, but the quickest, only because there aren't that many single-family or residential uses in proximity to Catella, so their work hours will probably be longer, maybe even 24-hour work periods, because, again, we want them in and out as quickly as possible. To be honest, our staff's concern is really Los Alamitos Boulevard, as you get south of Farquhar and you get into the residential environment there. And we just don't know at this point in time how disruptive that would be from a noise standpoint. We want to be sensitive to those residences, but also want, again, for them to be in and out as quickly as possible.
And have the safety.
Yeah, because it was hard to answer the questions asking about the hours. I mean, I'd love it to be shorter, but they didn't give you any indication as to, is this a 2-month project? Is it a year project? Even if they said, okay, we work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, how long would it take? Would help to be able to answer those questions.
And if,
I did see, I'm going to email the email address in there.
perfect,
And ask
because
the
I was going to
question.
say, that'd be a great response back to them. They need to hear that. Again, the worst case scenario, if it were the 8-hour-a-day, 5-day-a-week scenario, that's going to be the longest. That's going to be 2+ years, because that's the most time-consuming for their contractor or contractors to do the work. And if they're able to, obviously, like they can do, they indicated to us, like, for example, we have several manholes that need to be replaced in proximity to Catella and Los Al, that intersection. And we're still working through this with them, but our point was, we'd rather have you come in and work 24/7 over a 3 or 4 day window and be in and out of that intersection than to belabor that. The quicker you can get out
Right.
and have a short-term disruption, that's going to be crazy during that short-term disruption, but we'd rather have that than a slow, lingering disruption that, in our opinion, would be more disruptive to our community. So,
Right.
but we're still working through those details. And again, your feedback that you provide to the district will be shared with us as we work with them to coordinate this effort. So thank you in advance.
All right, anything else on that? All right, thank you. Commissioner reports? Anything?
The parking that the guy brought up earlier today, could we have the traffic commission maybe look and see what medical people are parking and why they're not getting tickets for parking too long in an area that has permit parking only? I haven't seen that for a while, but if they're in scrubs working, they're not at the hospital. They're more than likely at the surgical center or some of the 10681 building. So we may need to look into that and find out why they're not parking in appropriate places.
And Commissioner Gross, if you don't mind, what I'll do is reach out first to one of our captains
fine.
and talk with them directly as to the enforcement measures
Yeah.
in that area.
The other question I had is, I don't know that traffic commission, and I don't really know how this one works, but I noticed that when we have beautiful days, the car wash is starting to get backed up into the intersection at Los Al and Catella. If there's anything they can do, unfortunately, it's really good business for them, but you almost get rear-ended while you're sitting there. So I was wondering, they don't allow parking on that one little tiny section. Maybe the traffic commission could look at making that one little lane there instead of allowing cars to park during the day. Take away that parking so cars move over more, allowing the traffic to get by.
There are 2 cars that park there, because I always see the
Well, yes.
workers parking there.
Well, yeah,
and
so
going.
take that and make it a no parking zone.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
And maybe that way these
Right.
cars can move over. And then I don't know if we own the curb or if Rossmore, the county owns that curb, but they could cut it out and make it more or less easier for the cars to get in.
We own the right of way,
It's in,
Yeah.
up to the sidewalk.
yeah, I think it's
Yeah.
within our jurisdiction there.
So we might have the traffic commission just kind of look at all of that with there, just for the safety, because I know I've almost been hit a couple of times now.
All right, anything else?
Yeah, just wanted to give a huge thank you to the Los Alamitos Police Department, specifically Officer Navarro and Detective Lopez, who I've been working with. There was a piece of equipment stolen out in front of my house a couple of weeks ago, and with Officer Navarro's thorough reporting, they were able to, I think, work with Orange County Sheriffs, and they located the equipment. So I actually got it back, but I mean, he even came back a second time to get additional information and was very thorough. So huge props to our police department for getting that equipment back. So
We
thank
have
you.
a really good police department, and we have a really good fire department that I don't think gets recognized a lot because of our small city nature, but they're really great.
Which is why I'm doing it now.
Yep.
So thanks to them.
We'll pass that on.
Great, thanks. Anything else? All right, meeting adjourned.
Now we need to open up the next. Sure.
5-second break.